Alright, welcome back to another vid. So soon after my last one, I go literally like, what, 2 months without making a vid, or 2 videos in 4 months or something crazy like that, and then 2 in the space of a week. Ridiculous. If you haven't watched my last vid, my vlog, please feel free. It is a long vid, they always are, but it has timestamps, and that's what they're for you to skip through to the things which interest you. But you don't have to watch it, I'm just saying, if you haven't, feel free. So yeah, pickups vid, Amiga, Atari ST, PS1, plus 2 digital games, which isn't everyone's cup of tea, one for the Xbox One and one for the PlayStation 4. Bit of a clue as to what the Xbox One digital game is in the background, but a bit of a story about that because it shouldn't really have happened. Not really, I'll explain more when I get to it. So yeah, let's start with the Amiga and the ST. These are kind of all bundled in together. And the first one is a game which I remember from back in, well, the very early 90s. I think it would have initially came out on, well, late 80s, 1989 it came out. So I remember this, seeing it in Amstrad Action magazine, so I wanted it for the Amstrad. But I didn't end up getting it in the end. But I've got it now on the, is it the Amiga or the ST? What version is it? The Atari ST. And it's in Possimo. So yeah, a bit of kind of a silly little character that they came up with there. Gremlin graphics, I love that logo at the bottom. There we go, Atari ST. And yeah, it's basically just a side-scrolling platformer, elements of a shoot 'em up if you like, but it's basically a platformer. It's not amazing, it's very simplistic. It's fun though, I quite enjoy it to be perfectly honest. So, nostalgic in the sense that I remember it from back in the day, but I never actually played it to my knowledge. If I did, it would have been on a copied disc. So I saw this going really cheap in America, and because usually I have to import my games, being, you know, obsessed with PAL that I am. More of that maybe later if I remember, if not I'll save it for a vlog. But yeah, this one was actually in the States, so I picked it up. It was very cheap, it was about $7 or $8, and that's probably what it's worth, to be honest. But yeah, very simplistic, very basic, but nonetheless, pleased to have it in Possimo. So that is that one. Next up, oh, by the way, I should say there's a couple of games, I think 2, maybe 3 of these 6, I think, that I've got. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. 2 or 3 which I've showed on vlogs, very, very briefly, you know, under the segment of what I'm currently playing. But this is the first time they've been on a pickup vid. And I think one of those videos I briefly mentioned on a vlog was this one. It's Twin World. So look at the front cover. I mean, that is weird. Look at that. Not that I'm saying all elves or small people are weird, obviously. But that is very odd. It really, and look at his hand as well. I know he's kind of got his palm back, but it looks like Jeremy Beadle. You know, with the small hand. In fact, it actually does look like Jeremy Beadle. Look at that. Unbelievable. So, yeah, another one I remember from back in the day being a kid, but this is the first time I've ever played it. Again, this one's on the Atari ST. As you can see, you can't really miss that, can you? And it's just another platform game, which I really love. You know, platform games are very common back in the day. And on the, you know, the, how many more times I'm going to say back in the day? In the era of the 16-bit systems, and it's a good game. Now, I will say that the Amiga version is meant to be slightly better, but in all honesty, that's what I read. In all honesty, I looked at some gameplay comparisons on YouTube, and for me, this looks better, the Atari ST version. Or if it doesn't look better, it certainly doesn't look any worse. I think maybe what people were probably talking about were the sound, because the sound on the Amiga is obviously much, much better. So, but that's subjective for me, because the music on this works better. It works better for me on the ST than the Amiga. It's more atmospheric. It's a little bit like another game I've got called Blood Money. Now, in terms of quality, when you hear it, the sound on the Amiga is much, much better. But the ST version, it's much more immersive. It suits the game more. But I guess, as ever, it is just subjective, isn't it? So yeah, for me, the Atari ST version is the better version. And again, if you can see on the back there, a typical platform game. But it is very challenging, very hard. But it's fluid, it plays well, but you have to be precise. I noticed, much to my annoyance several times, that if you're on the edge, and I mean right on the edge, but you don't jump, it sometimes just pushes you off. It's like, come on, I didn't do that. And you've really got to time your jumps to perfection. But it is a good game. Shooting sometimes can be really difficult. You've got these like typical kind of magic potions, if you like, that you can pick up and throw. But you've got to line it up. And sometimes it's kind of pot luck. So, but once you've done it, it's fine. But that can be quite annoying. So it's a tricky game to master. But ultimately, I think it's a good game. I'm really pleased to get it. It's quite uncommon as well. Wait and see, you'll go on eBay now and there'll be bloody 300 of the buggers. But yeah, the Amiga version and the ST version is quite hard to get. and when it does come up for auction, in good condition, you know, not battered to smithereens, but in good condition, you're probably looking about 50 quid, something like that. I paid around about 40 for mine. And as you can probably see, it is in really nice condition. The only, and I mean literally the only problem with it is that at the bottom there, can you see? Like a bit of a dink. Apart from that, a dink or a ding. But apart from that, I guess there's a little bit of an indentation there. But it's in really nice condition, considering how flimsy this is, like little, almost like paper. Well, it's card, of course, but very, very easily breakable and bendable. So, pleased to have it, quite uncommon, and it's a good game. Next up, on the Commodore Amiga, I did talk about this one for a fact on a vlog. It's a game, yeah, I really do like it. I'm glad to get it. The artwork's fantastic. It's Pegasus, but it's a very, again, another Gremlin Graphics game there. It's very repetitive, and I mean super repetitive. So basically you start off, you're flying the Pegasus, you're in the sky, the level lasts about 2 minutes. It's a shoot 'em up essentially, again, if you can work anything out from there. It's a shoot 'em up, so you're going from left to right, or is it left to right? I think, no, it's from, well, whatever it is, right to left, left to right. And so a horizontal shoot 'em up, and yeah, it lasts about 2 minutes, and then you land on the ground, the animation kind of kicks in, you get off your horse, and then it turns into a platform level. And then the platform level lasts again about 2 minutes, and it's very repetitive. Not just in terms that the enemies are pretty similar, but just the layout of the level design, the world, it just looks the same. And then that lasts 2 or 3 minutes. You get back on your Pegasus, the animation kicks in, and then it flies you up, and then it turns into a side-scrolling shooter again. Again, another horizontal shooter, and then that's 2 minutes, and then you land. It's rinse and repeat. It's the same thing. Now, I haven't finished the game. I've probably got around about maybe halfway through, maybe slightly less than halfway through, actually. And yeah, it looks relatively nice. It's funny because the screenshots at the back, I'm going to hold it up again, the screenshots on the back show several different screens that I've not actually seen yet. So maybe they're from the latter stages of the game, because so far, like I say, I'm definitely at least a quarter of the way into the game, at least, if not more. And the background stages, the colours have hardly varied whatsoever. So it's a decent game. I do quite like it. I've always wanted to play it, even, you know, as a kid. Nearly said back in the day again. As a kid, I really wanted to get it, but I never did get around to getting it on my ST or Amiga latterly, until now. So delighted to have it. Lovely artwork. It's a decent game. It's just very, very repetitive. So there we go. Another one though, which is quite uncommon and can be not crazy expensive, you know, about 30 odd quid, give or take. But again, the condition's really good, and finding it like that is difficult. Another really good game in fantastic condition, and this is one which may have slipped by a lot of people because it came out in 1994, by which time the Amiga was really starting to fade away a little bit. Obviously the PS1 came out at the end of 1995 in PAL regions, so a lot of people missed this game, and it's called Rough and Tumble. And it's another side-scrolling platform shoot 'em up, if you like, and it's really good. The graphics are fantastic, the sound's really good. Another which is uncommon and can go for a fair bit of money. Lovely condition as well, got everything in there, discs, registration card. The instruction manual looks like it's been untouched, basically. So delighted to get this, and sounding like a stuck record, but it's another one which can go for a fair amount of coins if you want to get hold of it in good condition. So not massively common, but a really good game. And like I say, probably slipped a lot of people by because it essentially came out, you know, well, pretty much at the end of the Amiga's lifespan. So really pleased to have that, and it's a really good game. Instantly when you see it, the graphics are brilliant. You know, you can clearly tell that there was still actually a lot of life left in the Amiga. I guess the fact that it wasn't a CD-based system, it's obviously discs, and people were moving away from that. And yeah, I reckon the Amiga could have continued for another couple of years, if not more. It really could have. It's a shame, but it's just the way it is. And there's two more on the ST and the Amiga. One on the Amiga, and then actually, yeah, both of these are on the Atari ST, tell a lie. So first up is RoboCop 3. Now this is one I did have back in the early 90s, and I really like it. So it takes a bit of a change from the first two RoboCop games, which were essentially platform games, platform shoot-'em-up games. But this is like an isometric world that you're in. You can just about sort of work it out down the bottom there, with lovely kind of vector 3D graphics, very much kind of grey, silver, black, white, light blue, turquoise. That kind of dark colour scheme is very prominent in this game. And it looks amazing. I'm not being funny, but even now, in late 2018, I'm looking at not just the graphics, but the game, and I'm thinking, this looks really good. Bearing in mind it came out in, what, 91? It doesn't say on the box, but I think it would have been about 91, 92. Yeah, 1991. So, yeah, really impressive. Now, the reason I picked it up on the Atari ST, it's kind of two reasons. One, because originally I had it on the Atari ST back in 1991, and the other reason is that the Atari ST, despite the fact that obviously the Amiga's a better all-round computer, and that's an understatement, the Atari ST can handle 3D games much better. I think because isn't the processor faster, and quite significantly faster than the Amiga. So when it comes to shifting polygons around, it does a much better job. So for things like flight sims, RoboCop 3, maybe games like Epic, you know, 3D games basically, Dungeon Master perhaps, those games I imagine are better on the Amiga, but it's only minor. You know, we're not talking like enormous differences, but ultimately I think it's fair to say the ST, shock horror, performs those kind of games better. And then last but not least, on the 16-bit home computers, we've got this one, Special Forces, a game I definitely did have as a kid on the Atari ST, but like most other games, and if you're around about my age, you'll remember this very well, I had it on copied discs, because, you know, as a kid, you know, how would I be, 1991, so 12 or 13, I couldn't afford 20, 25 quid every week, or every other week, or even every other month. Where was I going to get that kind of money from? Not my paper round. So, yeah, I did have a little bit of pocket money, but not enough to buy games, obviously. So, copying games was all the rage. No regrets, even if it was illegal. Who cares? Everyone did it. So, yeah, Special Forces, really pleased to have this. This is, like I say, the ST version. The only difference, really, that I can work out, apart from the obvious sound, where the Amiga, as is 99% of the time, trounces the ST, it's the intro. Now, I don't recall that, unless I skipped it. I don't recall this intro being on the ST version, whereas obviously it is on the Amiga. It's kind of prolonged sort of intro where you see like the build-up and the music comes on. It is good, but obviously it's just an intro and it's just music. It's not actually gameplay. So, you know, big deal, the ST doesn't have that, so what? So, yeah, basically think of it as a cross between something like a, I don't know, a Chaos Engine, or something like a Cannon Fodder is probably the best one. Best example to use. It's like a Cannon Fodder and a Populous or a Powermonger, like kind of a God Sim, a strategy game essentially. You know, you control 4 different members, or is it 5, on your team. I can't quite remember how many you pick, but they've all got different skills, like a sniper, like someone who excels in, you know, like using dynamite and all that kind of stuff. And you've just got to strategize as you're going around the level, working out which soldiers to use in what scenarios. So I like it. It's basic in a sense that, you know, obviously if you compare it to a modern day game, very, very basic, but at the same time quite in depth for what it is and for when it came out. So that's Special Forces, really, really happy to get it. Now, moving on to 2 PlayStation 1 games. So, yeah, the whole PAL thing with me, a lot of you will know that because I'm so nostalgic, I always say it, I like to get PAL games because that's what I had as a kid, or as a young adult, whatever it would have been. And it just brings back all the memories, like the different coloured spines and the different cases and the artwork and all that kind of stuff. So I do tend to buy PAL, but not exclusively. You know, I do buy the odd American PS1 game here and there. And obviously all modern stuff is full on American. I don't care about anything PAL. Not interested in the slightest, unless it's an exclusive. So, yeah, there's a couple of PAL games on the PS1 I bought here, but I think going forward, I'm going to start mixing it up a lot more and buying more and more American NTSC PS1 games. It's just easier, long term it'll be cheaper, and yeah, I just think that's the way forward. But that's for the future. The 2 games that I bought recently, the first up is R-Type Delta, a shoot 'em up. Now, traditionally, of course, this R-Type is a 2D shoot 'em up. Again, I'll go a little bit closer there if you can see, and you probably can't. But yeah, traditionally it's a 2D shooter, but the PS1, of course, is very polygon-based. So this is where R-Type turns to a polygon shoot 'em up. But it works really well. I don't think it's aged particularly badly. I mean, you can tell it's aged a little bit. It's the late 90s. Although I think this game, yeah, 1999. So yeah, it's certainly aged, and it's got the 3D polygon look. But I think it works. It just goes to show it doesn't have to be a 2D shooter for it to be really good. So yeah, it looks good, plays well. Pretty impressed, but the one thing I will say is, at least for me anyway, rock hard. A really, really difficult game. But nonetheless, delighted to have it. R-Type Delta. Cost me around about 20 quid. I think when the seller was listening, he put it on a buy it now or with a best offer. And I think the buy it now was something like 55 quid it worked out at. And he was in America as well. And I thought that's way, way too expensive. So, of course, what did I do? Sent him a cheeky little message on eBay, like a lot of people probably do, to try and get it cheaper. And I was like, oh, come on, mate. I said, I really want this. I said, but it's not quite worth that. And I used this card. I went, and, of course, you're in America trying to sell a PAL game. Oh, not many people are after it. And he got back to me, he went, well, you know, make me an offer. And I went, well, to be honest, I'm not really looking to pay any more than 30 all in. Bearing in mind, he's asking for 55, 60, or whatever it was, 50 to 60. And he went, yeah, okay, sounds good to me. So it just goes to show, doesn't it? If you ask, you know, ask and you shall receive. So, or don't ask, don't get, whichever kind of cliche you want to go along with. So really pleased to get it. It's just a really hard game. And then the last one I've got on the PlayStation 1 is one I originally remember buying from Game back in the UK, of course. Is Game even still going these days? I'm not sure. But I used to really like it. I never did get around to finishing it as a kid, not back in the day. Never did get around to finishing it, but I've always wanted to get it back. There is a sequel, and I think there may be a third one as well. In fact, I know there is, but I've never played the third one. And I did start the sequel, but I've spent, I don't know, the best part of 10 minutes on it, because I knew I wanted to go back and finish the first, which is this one, and I've still not finished it. It's going to take me a long time. But I'm really pleased to have it. It's another one that can go for around about £40, give or take. But buying it in America as I did, I got it for a little bit cheaper. Well, about half price, quite frankly. That's the one benefit of buying PAL games in America. Usually they're cheaper. They just hardly ever come up. That's the problem, really. So anyway, the game I've got is Discworld. So essentially an adventure game, point and click, and brilliant voice casting in here. And just a nice story by Terry Pratchett, a bit wild and wacky, of course. But yeah, really pleased to have it, and I can't wait to sink my teeth into that one, to be honest. Really good game. And then once I've finished that in a few years, I'll move on to Discworld 2. I think that's one of the things I used to do years ago. You know, I've not done it for a long, long time. I've kind of got out of that habit, thankfully. But in the past, you know, if I wanted, say, Discworld, I'd have bought it like 6, 7 years ago on my YouTube channel. Yeah, about 6 or 7 years, I think's about right. But I wouldn't have just stopped at getting Discworld. I'd have bought Discworld 2, and then the other one, what's the other one called? Is it Discworld Noir? I think it might be something like that. And I'd have just bought all 3 of them, and of course then they just stay on a shelf. You never get round to playing them, or maybe you'll start the first, but you certainly won't get to the other 2 anytime soon. And yeah, alright, it's great having them. You know, you don't have to worry about getting them in the future, but you're not playing them, and you've spent all that money. It's like, what's the point? So these days, it's common sense. Buy a game you want, play it, and then when you've finished it, then get the sequel or get another game. So my whole kind of attitude has changed when it comes to many games. Obviously not for the ST and the Amiga, because I've just bought 6 or 7 there. But generally speaking, a couple of them did come from the same seller, to be fair. But and on top of that, the Amiga and the ST is probably my main kind of nostalgic vice, if you like. So I'm just making excuses for spending money, aren't I? But yeah, generally speaking, what I tend to do is wait. And especially with modern games, that really is where my big change is. You know, I used to go out and spend a load of money on 360 games, PS3, even Xbox One. I'd see a real bargain, and I'd be like, oh, you know, it's $10, it's $15. And it's like, well, yeah, that is really cheap. But when it comes, am I going to play it? The answer is not really. So why not just wait? And if you do wait, it's going to go down even more in the future, so you'll pick it up for even less. So play the patience game. More and more, I'm getting that way. Just, you know, being late to the party, but I always do it eventually. So that's that. And then last but not least, 2 digital games. One on the PlayStation 4, which is Pro Evolution Soccer 2019. I do really like it. It's a good game. I've got to be honest, I am still thinking of, well, I will get FIFA 19 eventually. But for $60, it's too pricey for me. It's not that I can't afford it. Again, it comes back down to that, you know, waiting for a price drop. And the thing is, with FIFA 18, I downloaded FIFA 18 on the PS4 last year, around about this time last year, not long after it came out. And then at Christmas, it was $30 for a digital download. And then the New Year sale, like a week later, it was $19.99, so $20, which is about sort of 14, 15 quid. So I'm thinking, if they did that last year for FIFA 18, they're definitely going to do this year. So FIFA 19, wait and see, it'll be on a pickup video before the end of the year now, but if it is, whatever. But FIFA 19 for me is a game I'll probably download, on the PlayStation 4 for $30 or maybe even $20 within, let's face it, because we're in October already, within the next couple of months. Makes much more sense to me to do that than $60 straight away. And plus I don't need 2 football games at this moment in time because I've got PES 2019, which I really do like. You know, Pro Evolution Soccer is a franchise I used to love. Absolutely adored it on the PlayStation 2. It was the king. Undisputed king. FIFA was rubbish. It really was. And then more and more, especially, I think for me, it would have been maybe FIFA 09. FIFA 9 or FIFA 10 was the one where I played it, having ignored FIFA for a few years. And I thought, wow, it's really changed for the better. And then PES started to go backwards. So up until last year, I was a FIFA guy. But for me, FIFA's gradually got it, I wouldn't say worse, it's just turning more and more into a simulation, and I want FIFA to be an arcade game, or at least more of an emphasis on arcade than it is. So yeah, the last 2 or 3 FIFA games I've started to sort of think a little bit less of for each one. So I'm not going to give it a skip, I will get it, but for now, Pro Evolution Soccer 2019 is the one I'm playing. I really do like it. It's not perfect. There's a number of annoyances I've found already with the AI. It cheats like hell. It really does. That's what I'm saying anyway. I'm sticking to it. Maybe I'm just rubbish and I need to get better. But I will. You know, practice makes perfect. I am liking it. If you did watch my last vlog, you'd have seen something I mentioned about the whole YouTube FC thing, which I'm thinking of doing in tandem with PES 2019. Just for a bit of fun. Don't take it too seriously. It's just a laugh. That's all it is. And so I'm liking it. Graphics are nice. But yeah, FIFA 19 is one I'll get eventually. And then last but not least for this vid, you can see it in the background, it's Forza Horizon 4 and it's set in the UK. It's really nice. It's a really good game. Graphically, it's fantastic. Now, here's the thing. I think it was last Sunday on Amazon.com, I bought the $100 edition, which is I think called the Ultimate Edition. Comes with like the slipcover, comes with the steelbook, it comes with the season pass and all that kind of stuff. So every bit of DLC they release, I think in theory, I'd get. And getting the Ultimate Edition is what I did for Forza Horizon 3, and I think Forza Horizon 2 as well, if they did one. I certainly did it for the last. And I've done it for things like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. No, was it Odyssey or was it Origins? It was Origins the last one. Odyssey's the new one, isn't it? I think that's right. So, but they're expensive. They're like the top tier kind of edition you can get without it being like a collector's edition. So $100. So this was Sunday afternoon time on Amazon. I bought it, paid for it, $100, looking forward to it. It's a lot of money, but I really like the Forza games, so, especially Horizon. That's the thing. Forza Motorsport, okay, it's an arcade game, but it's much more of a simulation. It's kind of a sim-arcade hybrid, if you like. Forza Horizon, what did I say? Yeah, that's Forza Motorsport. Forza Horizon is absolute arcade. This is not a sim. I know a lot of people get a bit confused about that. It's not a sim at all. It's so unrealistic. You can cut across roads, choose your way that you want to get to the destination, crash through fences, barriers, walls, you name it. It's pure arcade and completely unrealistic. So I just had to say that because I know a lot of people kind of confuse the two. So, but yeah, so anyway, so I bought it on Sunday and it was due to arrive on Wednesday. And I thought, great, okay. So Wednesday morning, I'm checking its progress on Amazon and it said it hadn't even shipped. And I'm thinking, what? It's meant to arrive today, let alone not even shipped. It said, yeah, not yet shipped, due to arrive Friday. And I thought, oh, no. Not for $100. Don't mess me about. That's ridiculous. So I cancelled the order, which was easy to do. It was just one click of a button, cancel order. So I did that. And the reason I did that is because the day before on the Xbox One, I'd noticed this, well, I'd heard of it before, called the Xbox Game Pass. And basically you sign up for like a monthly fee, or in my case right now, it's a trial for 2 weeks. I've got to remember to cancel it, otherwise I'm going to be charged every month. Or I might keep it, we'll see. But basically it entitles you to the best part of, what, 100 games? More than 100 games? 150 or something? And it's not streaming to my knowledge, you've got to download them all. But the choice, the wealth of choice to choose from is really, really good. And one of the games on this Xbox Game Pass, already, even though it's just come out, is Forza Horizon 4. So that was a bit of a no-brainer. So essentially I've downloaded the game and I'm playing it, really, for free, ultimately. So, yes, I haven't got the DLC or any of that caper, but I'm playing the game. It's the full game. It's not a demo or anything like that. It's the full game that I'm playing under this Xbox Game Pass, and I'm really liking it. The season changing every however many days, I think it does it in the game. Obviously, spring, summer, autumn, winter. And I think the tag is it changes everything that they're using, the developers. And it really does affect the gameplay, the snow, the weather conditions, the sun, the scenery. It looks really good. The graphics are amazing. And I think there's two choices on the Xbox One X version. There's a performance mode, which I think gives you 60 frames per second, like a solid rate of that kind of gameplay feature. And then there's the other one, which I think is called the graphics mode. So it bumps the graphics up, you know, even more than what they already are, but at a slight sacrifice to the frames per second. And that's what I'm using right now. I'm using the graphics mode. And to be honest, it plays amazing. But then again, I'm not a massive hardcore gamer, not modern gamer. I love the systems. I buy games for it. I play it. I enjoy it. But I'm not technically, you know, in touch with what it all means. 60 frames per second, 30. It's all the same to me, quite frankly. So apparently, you know, when you do put it on the performance mode, the 60 frames per second, it's meant to be amazing and fluid. And so I will try it. But I'm just saying, right now I've got it on the graphics mode and it looks really, really good. And I will talk about it a little bit more on my vlog, either next week or the week after. I might put some video footage up in that video as well. So yeah, I'm really liking it. And the Xbox Game Pass, it's one to consider. My only dilemma with that is because you've got so much choice, I'm a little bit concerned that I won't really stick to a game. You know, I'll spend 5 minutes on something and then I'll be, you know, tempted and swayed by something else. And then I'll just forget what I've played. And I don't really want to be doing that. That's one of the problems I find on the Amiga, having the PCM card. You know, just copying all these games back and forth onto disc. It's like I can play anything. You know, I'd much rather, as silly as it sounds, really just buy a game, play it, and then move on to like the next one, whatever that is. And of course, I've got the physical game as well, so the whole thing of nostalgia is being ticked off too. So anyway, there we go. Really enjoying Forza Horizon 4. It's a brilliant game. It looks great on a standard Xbox, but on an Xbox One X, it looks amazing. So really, really pleased to get that. Also as well, you can't quite see, but that down there, in that one, next to the Xbox One, is the PlayStation 4 million, what's it called, the million edition? 500 million edition? So really limited numbers, severely limited numbers. I got in there very, very early. Like a month ago did it come out? I'm not quite sure. And yeah, I got my pre-ordering within like a second of it going up. And of course on eBay they're asking for like £1,000, £2,000 or more. Mental. It is limited, I think. Is it 50,000 or is I think there is 50,000, or is it more than that? Maybe it's 50,000. So yeah, for a PlayStation worldwide release, it's very limited. It looks lovely with like kind of the dark blue and like a royal blue and sort of a gold bronze effect to it. It looks really, really nice. I'm pleased to have it. But ultimately, it's just a PlayStation 4 Pro. So if you're not bothered about, you know, the aesthetics, it's not going to be for you. But I'm really pleased to have it. And then there's the 2 controllers, where are they? There. That come with it as well. So it's really, really nice. Again, I may show more of that on... Maybe I might have put some pics up. I might not on this vid. If not, maybe it'll be in the vlog. But yeah, I'm really enjoying that. So anyway, thank you for watching. Until my next vid, which will either be a music vid, a long overdue music vid, or if it isn't that, it will be a vlog, like I say. If not next week, maybe the one after. Anyway, thank you for watching. See you later. Hey, you.